So here we are at the famous Land's End signpost. We've kindly put the Stroke Association up in lights on the post. Beautiful day, couldn't want for anything better. Not too hot, fairly calm. Got new bike, ready to go, probably the heaviest it's ever been laden. And support team.
Yay!
Support team. And so let's get going on this thing. So here we go, setting out of the car park at Land's End. 1,043 miles to go. Day one from Land's End to Liskeard was the shortest day at 80 miles, but it had the most climbing of all the days. It involved a beautiful ride along the coast at Penzance, wonderful views of St Michael's Mount, before cutting across, and I stopped at the National Trust Garden at Trelissick before catching the King Harry ferry across the River Fal. And then past the Lost Gardens of Heligan, through St Austell, across the second ferry of the day, the Brodnick ferry, and then on up into Liskeard. So we're just coming down now into Newlyn, starting to see the sea. So we've got a village fair going on today. So, feeling great now. Just 20 or so miles into this epic challenge, but just to be good on the bike and doing what I know how to do. It took so many weeks and months to plan for this trip. Didn't really know how ambitious to be, which was the best route, and so much to think about, so much to book, so many bits and pieces to take, knowing that, you know, if you're a long way from your own toolbox, you need to better fix the basic stuff. Wonderful to have Kathy and Jean's support. I really valued that. But also it's good now to be here on my own, on this quiet road, just me and the bike, everything running smoothly, and yeah, this is what it's all about. Beautiful path, bit of respite from the sun as well. Such a glorious day. Well, Garmin is telling me that this is the last hill, 14 out of 14. Just as well, because we've got less than a mile to go to the destination. So, end of day one. Beautiful sunny day. Really nice to be on the road at last, having spent months in the planning. The training in Devon I did the week before last really helped, because there were a lot of hills, 6,900 feet of ascending. Probably tomorrow will be a much tougher challenge with a day of climbing in the legs already, and
the day tomorrow looks similarly hilly, travelling through Devon to get to Taunton. So far so good. Tonight Kathy and her mum Jean and son John and wife Abby took me out for dinner since they were based in Plymouth today. That was really nice, really encouraging way to finish the first day. I've got a coffee stop with brother-in-law Matt on Tuesday, but other than that I won't be seeing any friends or relatives at all on this trip, so that's probably going to get a bit harder. So it was really nice to start this first day with some family support. So it's 10 to 10. I'm going to knock off, get as many hours of sleep in as I can. Hope to be out on the road again at 8:30 tomorrow.
Day 2 took me from Liskeard in Cornwall over the border into Devon and through to Taunton in Somerset, distance of 88 miles with about 6,400 feet of climbing. So the route took me skirting the northern edge of Dartmoor, a nice section of disused railway called the Granite Way, before gradually descending through Crediton, once known for its woolen mills, then on past Columpton, Wellington and into the city of Taunton, coming in via the river.
This is the bridge over the River Tamar, which marks the border between Cornwall and Devon. It's coming down to Dartmoor, going to be skirting a kind of way around at the top of it. And of course in Devon you can't go down without immediately having to go up. So this is the Granite Way, a disused railway line that ran from Lidford to Oakhampton, I think. And after all the hills from today, it's really nice to be cycling on the flat. Just running along the edge of Dartmoor on our right. Glad I'm not climbing over the top. So we're just coming up to the lake viaduct, built in 1874, and let's get some views over the top of it. So I'm here in a village called Yeoford, which is in Devon near Crediton. Wasn't planning to stop like this for lunch. Was just going to snatch a sandwich somewhere, but I got into the middle of some countryside without any villages or shops. It's a Sunday as well, and ran out of water. So I thought, okay, well, priority is to get some water. And the first place I came that I could do that was this pub called the Duck at Yeoford. Here we are, and there she is, So I wandered into there to ask them for some water. Everyone's dressed in their Sunday finest. It's a kind of cordon bleu menu, but very generously. I think the proprietor thought that most of the dishes on the menu are going to be a bit beyond me, particularly as a cyclist. So they kindly offered me a pulled pork sausage roll and some fries that they could knock up for me, which is just right. So I thought, okay, water is here, but also let's stop for lunch. And I'll sit outside where I'm not embarrassing the clientele with my cycling lycra. So it's all good.
So I'm at the Premier Inn in Taunton. Got in about 6. I was always a little bit concerned about this second day because it was one of the hilliest of all 10, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go without all the excitement of the launch yesterday and the fresh legs. The ride kicked off with almost immediately with a steep ascent, probably one of the longest and steepest hills of the ride so far. And I was a little anxious about whether the legs would hold out, but they did. And as we got towards halfway, the hill started to ease, and there were some sort of flatter sections, and then it was nice just coming into Taunton to get onto the sort of Somerset levels, where things are much flatter. Wasn't an easy day, but tomorrow holds the prospect. It's a longer ride, but mainly flat. So that's day 2. So day 3 took me from Taunton to Gloucester, 115 miles. This was the flattest of all the 10 days. Crossed the Somerset levels and then tracking up the Severn estuary. It took me through some familiar rides around Clevedon and Bristol, where I used to live, through the not very picturesque area of Avonmouth. I had to make an emergency stop at a bike shop in Thornbury to get a new chain, but the rest of the journey was uneventful up to Gloucester.
So we're tracing along a canal from Taunton, heading towards Bridgewater. Don't generally like riding on the gravel. It's a bit bumpy, it's slow, but it's peaceful and scenic, so I'm not complaining too much. So this is the state of the National Cycle Network. Not super impressed with this. I think we're running into difficulty here, and I'm not sure that we can go much further. So I'm getting stung to bits by nettles. Looks like it's not much further. So the question is, can we make it through? I'm hoping when we get to this bridge, we might find a way out of this. so thick it's holding the bike back. Well, thankfully we seem to have escaped from the ridiculous to the sublime. So more cycleway alongside a river this time. There's a heron on the bank there. Cows on this side. All very lovely. And it's another perfect day. Cycling does not get much better than this. So I'm at Yatton station, about 45 miles in, just stopping for a bit of carrot cake and then a coffee. It's been so much easier than yesterday. Flat, easy roads, lots of disused railway lines and tracks. So I'm gonna grab some cake, lunch stop after about 60 miles, and then yeah, on to Gloucester. So we've reached Clevedon on the Severn Estuary. This is one of the few areas where I'm on home turf. Did a lot of cycling around here when first coming back from working overseas, staying with my parents in Bristol. So it's nice for a few miles anyway to be on familiar roads. So got our first little mechanical of the trip. I don't think it's too serious. I'm cycling on so many gravel trails that I think the chain's got full of gunk and getting a bit of a tick where one of the links is not flexing when it goes through the derailleur. So just got the smallest thing of lube that I could pack. Give that a go and see if it does the trick. Well, struggling to get this free. It looks like maybe the chain somehow got bent at some point. May have to take it to a bike shop at some point. But it will run reasonably well in the meantime. Just approaching Gloucester now, so it's just coming up to 7 o'clock in the evening, probably an hour and a half later than I'd have liked, but yeah, the riding was great.
After the grueling hills of the first 2 days, this was such a luxury to be cycling almost completely on the flat. But shortly after leaving Bristol, I was just approaching a steep hill, got slightly surprised by some traffic doing something I didn't expect. It needed to change down suddenly because of the hill and put too much pressure on the pedals during the gear change and bent one of the chain links so that it wasn't flexing properly. And I worked for a while to see if I could sort of bend it back into shape, get it operating smoothly, but couldn't. So really then the advice is to change the chain, and I realized if I waited till the following day there'd be some pressure, some time pressure to try and get it sorted. So I quickly looked to see what cycle shops might be around, and thankfully quite close to the route in a little village called Thornbury there was a a small bike shop, Pete's Cycles, and I managed to get there about 10 minutes before he closed. He did have a 12-speed chain in stock, so I was able to quickly buy that and then fit it once I got to Gloucester to the hotel. So that's good, because I think while it was still operating, it was complaining as it went through the derailleur, the bent link, and I'm not sure how many miles I would have wanted to do on it. Not sure it was doing the derailleur much good. So nice to have that fixed. As a result, got in a bit late. Very nice little B&B, very kind of friendly chap. He's offered to launder my cycling kit, so I'm not having to wash it in the sink tonight. Went out to the Gloucester Quays. They've sort of redeveloped the dockyard area, and had a nice meal of pasta at Zizi's. Picked up a bit more sunscreen from Sainsbury's, because I'm going through sunscreen like nothing, and what I'm finding is I'm getting an increasingly impressive tan line where the jersey ends and where my arm is going browner and browner. So sunscreen absolutely essential in this weather when you're out in the sun for 9-10 hours. So stocked up in a bit more of that. Tomorrow is a 120-mile day, little bit hillier than today, but not too bad. So hopefully no more mechanicals. I'll be careful with my gear changes when swapping rings on the front, and hopefully everything will go relatively smoothly. Time for bed.
So day 4 from Gloucester to Nantwich in Cheshire. Distance of about 123 miles. Initially leaving Gloucester, routing up to Worcester, and then on to Droitwich, where I had a very nice coffee with brother-in-law Matt, before heading on up through a series of towns that were once economically important but now are essentially commuter towns to sort of Birmingham in the West Midlands. And then the terrain became more sort of agricultural in the second half of the ride, before arriving into Nantwich.
Just coming through the centre of Worcester. Rather lovely section here along the, I think it's the Stour and Sharpness Canal towards Stourport. Very nice. So we've reached the city of Kidderminster and come into the city via the canal. Lots of old Industrial Revolution remains. Beautiful way to come into the city away from the traffic. Had a slow start today, feeling off colour, feeling a bit cold. Had a really good coffee stop with brother-in-law Matt that cheered me up a bit. That was in Droitwich, and then got about 60 miles to go, about halfway. Feeling a little bit better now, so hopefully should be able to manage the second half, no problem. to Nantwich.
So, end of day 4, Gloucester to Nantwich. Lots of little bumpy hills, but the sort that you can kind of stand on the pedals, climb up and then coast down the other side, and none of them particularly taxing. Lots of interesting industrial revolution, canals, towers, industrial works disused through places like Droitwich and Kidderminster and Stourport and places like that. Arrived in fairly late, 7 o'clock, got into Nantwich, had some pizza before coming over to the B&B. So yeah, it's going to be another long day tomorrow, but hopefully the legs are demonstrating that they're okay. Just got to manage saddle sores and knees and things like that, and just sort of not push anything too hard. So I'll see you tomorrow.
So day 5 took me from Nantwich in Cheshire to Sedbergh in the Yorkshire Dales, routing up initially through Winsford, Northwich, before reaching the industrial heartland of Cheshire and Lancashire, through Warrington, Wigan, Preston, routing largely on canal towpaths and disused railway lines. Stopped for lunch at Preston, at the marina there, before then venturing on up. The landscape gave way to the rolling hills of Lancashire. Quite glad I wasn't on the M6, which was completely closed due to an accident, and I skirted my way up alongside it for a while. And then the scenery became more dramatic, with sights of the Cumbrian and hills of Yorkshire Dales, before arriving into the scenic town of Sedbergh.
So just easing my way into day 5. Yesterday's stage, that was the first 120 miler. This is the second, but feeling good on the bike today. Another beautiful day. I haven't yet had a sort of sizable cloud in the sky this is the 5th day of riding. I think what this is behind me is one of Britain's last remaining salt mines. So just riding up the side of a big cascade of locks up one of the canals. Being past about 6 or 7, there's quite a number going up behind me. Don't know how many in total, but if you were navigating this, it would be probably a morning's work to work all the locks to get up or down. So just stopped for a bite of lunch at Preston, Preston Marina. It's 20 to 3. I've still got 57 miles to go, so it'll be a fairly late finish. Just finding these cycleways along canal towpaths and shared use paths. It's just slow going. so hopefully hit some more normal roads in the next few miles and pick up a bit more speed. So this is the Preston navigation, a canal way for ocean-going vessels. Just starting to see the Lake District hills ahead of us. Been going through the rolling hills of Lancashire, and this is the first proper view of the Lake District coming up ahead. We're going to be skirting to the east of it to avoid too many hills. Well, after 123 miles, these last hills are stinging a little bit, but the view more than makes up for it. I think we're going to be rewarded with something over the top of this hill. Oh, there's a wall in the way. Typical. So that's the village of Sedbergh in the distance there. Just coming in, about a mile to go. Such a beautiful evening. And but I'll be glad to get in, get some food. Tomorrow's a new day, travelling up through there.
So day 5 done, Nantwich to Sedbergh. Had a really nice day in Nantwich with a family who let their house for B&B, but the husband's a cycling enthusiast. His wife very much sort of making me feel at home, washed my kit, and had breakfast in their kitchen, and yeah, it just felt really nice to be a bit at home when on a trip like this. So set off in good time, feeling good on the bike. No real faff, just sort of got on with it and got some miles under my belt. Arrived into Sedbergh just about 7:30, 7:40. Had a very nice dinner in the restaurant of this place. It's called the Dalesman. So just about to knock off for the evening. Tomorrow's stage, Sedbergh to Moffat in southern Scotland, about 100 miles, so that's nice that it's just a couple of hours less on the bike. Than the hope is to get in a little bit earlier tomorrow and just have a little bit more time to chill before going to bed and repeating the thing all over again in the morning. So that's it for day 5.
Day 6, from Sedbergh to Moffat, a distance of 100 miles. Initially quite a bit of climbing to get up to the watershed between the Lake District and the Yorkshire Dales before beginning to descend towards Penrith, and then a beautiful descent down into Carlisle, where I had a very nice lunch in the grounds of the cathedral, before then heading out across the border at Gretna, the famous sign, and then the going was pretty flat, just a gentle hill up to the town of Beatock before coming into Moffat.
So I'm just starting out from Sedbergh. Got to come round the Howgill Fells, climb up over the watershed and then down into Penrith. So it's been a bit of a slog from the off up these narrow winding roads, but the reward is to have views like this and just wonderful Yorkshire Dales countryside. Well, we've got this beautiful Yorkshire Dales landscape. I guess you've got to put the M6 somewhere and the West Coast Main Line. It's just a shame it comes through this beautiful valley. I think that's the River Lune. So I'm trying to ignore the traffic and just enjoy the rest of it. So finally reached the Scottish border. Over there, the old toll bar, Gretna Green, and yeah, feels good. Although there's an awful long way to go. Scotland is a big country.
So, end of day 6, Sedbergh to Moffat. First 30 miles or so quite hilly as we threaded away between the Yorkshire Dales and the Lake District, going through Penrith, Carlisle, and then into Scotland. Had a really nice little coffee stop at a village called Askham, and nice chat with fellow cyclists and a couple of people out walking, and then having gained all that altitude across the pass there, a beautiful road down into Carlisle, about 10 miles of gentle descending, which meant you could just ride flat out, really easy, nice smooth road, beautiful. And then the second half, 50 miles or so from Carlisle to Moffat, quite flat, gently rolling hills. Moffat is this beautiful little bustling little town, lots of interesting shops down narrow streets, a nice little river running down through past the side of it, and very nice little B&B. Had a really warm welcome from Mark and Dawn, the two hosts, the couple who run the place. Cup of tea and some of their homemade millionaire shortbread on arrival, and very accommodating to help me get an early start in the morning, because tomorrow, quite a tough day. This is routing up to Glasgow. That's not too bad, but then we get into the Trossachs and the scenic route to Callander. There's another route that goes up via Edinburgh through more of an easterly path through central Scotland, which is not felt to be particularly scenic, and some of the roads are a little bit busy. So I've taken the hit of 44 extra miles and 900 meters extra climbing in order to see the scenes on the scenic route, which I'm really looking forward to. So far I haven't had a single cloud provide a single minute's worth of shade, but the beauty of that is, you know, the Highlands of Scotland should be magnificent in this kind of weather. So looking forward to that, but the last 20-30 miles are going to be quite steep, quite tough. So everything else is kind of going okay, getting some nice calluses on the palms where they're sort of sat there for hours on end, absorbing all the vibration and juddering of British roads. Saddle soreness, managing it just by kind of alternating stepping on the pedal, standing up, getting out of the saddle versus sitting down. I think it's something probably any endurance cyclist has to cope with. Knees, yeah, occasionally just remind me that they're, this is a bit much, but not too bad, nothing chronic. So so far things holding up, the bike running well. Slightly worrying, I've got a couple of spokes on the rear wheel that just sort of creak slightly if I'm going up the really steep stuff, the kind of 15 to 20% stuff. But hopefully the wheel isn't going to collapse on me, and I think we're in good shape. So I'll speak again from Callander, assuming I can get there.
Day 7 from Moffat to Callander, distance of 118 miles. Setting out from Moffat on quiet roads, quite a climb up onto a plateau before a gradual descent down towards Glasgow. Approaching the city, the traffic built up. It was quite slow and frustrating going. But when I arrived in town, I discovered that the world's largest bagpiping festival was in full swing, and stopped for a while to listen to this amazing sound of many, many different bagpiping bands, all practicing and getting ready for their performances. Then in the centre of Glasgow, I stopped for some delicious Greek street food before taking a nice cycling route on disused railway lines up to the base of Loch Lomond at Bannock before heading northeast with beautiful views out over the hillside and the loch and on to Aberfoyle, where I stopped at a little tea shop that was just about to close, and then a really steep climb up into the Queen Elizabeth Forest Park alongside Loch Bennecha. Beautiful conditions, but quite a tough finish to the ride. And when I got there, I stayed at the amazing Dreadnought Hotel. Tartan carpets, antlers all over the walls, a real experience which I loved.
Climbing up out of Aberfoyle through this beautiful forest. Boy, it's definitely the toughest climb of the whole ride so far, and still got 87 meters of ascent to gain. Last 5 miles or so, we've left Aberfoyle and taking the National Cycle Network Route 7, which is through this big forest and past this loch here, and quite bumpy, quite steep, so we're tiptoeing around, don't want to break a spoke or anything like that. But at the same time it's gorgeous, and just enjoying the scenery. Lots of people set up their tents, campsites along the shore of the loch, which looks really kind of idyllic. They've got their campfires going. So I've got to keep ploughing on. 5 miles on this terrain is going to be still a little bit of time to go, but there we are. Dinner will taste all the better for it when we get to Callander.
Day 8 from Callander to Carbridge in the Cairngorms, a distance of 128 miles. This was one of the more demanding stages of the ride, but by now I felt strength beginning to come to my legs as we went from day to day, and it wasn't too big a problem. Early mist and cloud gave way to a stunning day with amazing views, particularly over Loch Tay to the Munros behind. This was probably the most scenic of all the days of the ride. The weather certainly helped with that. And then it was fairly easy going on to Aberfeldy. I had lunch in Pitlochry, getting a handmade sandwich at a little bakery that I enjoyed in the park, chatting with other people who took an interest in what I was doing. And then began the long, steady slog up to the pass of Dromocta, which was the highest point in the whole of the ride. This is actually the second highest road in Scotland. Then there was a steady descent through the towns of Kingussie and Aviemore before arriving into Carbridge in the middle of the evening.
So just setting off from Callander, and we have this mysterious weather phenomenon appeared. We have cloud and mist on the hills. The 7 days of uninterrupted sun has come to an end, and we'll see what the Scottish weather can do for us now. I've still put sunscreen on because I think it might be sunny later, but the weather for the final 3 days of the challenge looks a bit mixed, so that's good because I've been lugging a great ton of wet weather gear around in my pack, and it would be nice to use it, but hopefully not in too serious a way. So this is a long one, 124 miles. The pass of Dromachta, which is a big climb. So it's probably going to be the longest day of the challenge, and just got to remember that and not try to be too ambitious, and just get through it. Here we go.
So we're up in the clouds on a forest trail. Bit of a climb to get to this flat bit. This flat bit's rather nice, and quite chilly. I've had to put scarf on, gilet, base layer. Still debating whether the arm warmers are one step too far, but I can sense the sun is just behind this cloud, so I think it's going to burn off later in the day. I think this viaduct would look quite impressive if we weren't up in the clouds. Just see the sun burning the cloud away. We're going to get some great views soon. This is a wonderful path. Look like a roller coaster. Pesky tree roots. Railway bridge, railway dating back to 1865, crossing the River Tay. Well, this is the most beautiful road. Just sweeping through the forest. Amazing views through the gaps in the trees. Just wonderful. Nice, smooth surface. If all roads were like this, cycling to John O'Groats would be a dream. So we're climbing our way up to the pass of Dromachta. It's a narrow pass. This is the A9 on the right of us, and the mainline railway is just down on the left, and there's a river, so all four things are sharing this tight gap to get through the fells. So we've reached the pass of Dromokta, the highest point on the Land's End to John O'Groats ride. It's the boundary between central Scotland and the Highlands. Up here is the Cairngorms National Park, and this way to Aviemore and Carbridge, where I'm going to be sleeping tonight. Still have 3 hours or so probably an 8 o'clock finish. A bit of a slog to get up to this point, but hoping for a nice lengthy descent down the other side. So let's go.
Day 9 from Carbridge to Crask in Sutherland, distance of about 98 miles. Started the day not feeling particularly well, but had a lovely long descent down into Inverness, so quite easy riding. And I did stop in Inverness for coffee and cake in the hope that that would help me to feel a bit better on the bike. Then had a rather scary ride mixing it with the traffic on the Keswick Bridge because the cycle lane was closed. But then onto quieter roads, up past Dingwall with beautiful views over the Cromarty Firth. And then as I approached Alness, the skies looked more and more menacing, and eventually the heavens opened with an almighty thunder and lightning storm. I was rather higher up than I wanted to be, feeling rather exposed, so I hurried down to try to escape the worst of the lightning, and then limped to Lejog, another coffee stop, before struggling into the Crask Inn just before they were about to serve dinner.
Well, that wasn't a lot of fun. Just closed the footpath without any kind of diversion. Anyway, we're done it.
Day 10 from Crask to John O'Groats, distance of about 85 miles. Quite an easy day in the saddle, which was great because it allowed me to really enjoy the bleak, beautiful, empty countryside of Sutherland and reflect on the joy of doing this challenge, really. Unfortunately, when I got to the north coast, there was a thick sea mist, which meant that I wasn't really able to enjoy the rugged beauty of the northern coastline. Had to come back and do it another time on a clearer day. But finally, when getting to the famous signpost at John O'Groats, it was a question of celebrating with other Lejoggers who were also finishing and taking photographs for each other.
So we're just setting out from the Crask Inn, final day of this Lejog challenge. Not feeling 100%, bit of an upset stomach, but certainly good enough to do this day. And yeah, 82 miles or so
to John O'Groats and then 20 miles back to Thurso. The midges are biting, so I'm going to get on my way. This is an A road, would you believe it? This is a beautiful road from Altnahara up to Betty Hill along the side of this loch. Beautiful meandering road. Well, this northern Scottish coastline is supposed to be very ruggedly beautiful, but sadly not seeing much of it due to the sea mist. Hoping we might get some breezes that blow it away, but for now I could be cycling anywhere. So got just over 10 miles to go to get to John O'Groats, and just reflecting on what that's starting to feel like. In a sense, you focus on each day at a time, and you know, how you're doing against the bigger goal is a little bit obscured by the just making sure you get each day done, get to the destination, avoid any mechanical or health or other issues. And yeah, I'm glad I've done this. I think there's no doubt that taking a little more time would just give you the freedom to visit a few more sites that you pass along the way. Maybe just linger in at lunch stops and coffee stops without having to think of the clock all the time. Maybe arrive a bit earlier in the evening and get a bit more sleep. I didn't really have that luxury. Still glad that I did it. So has this ride, this challenge, changed my life? It's certainly a challenge I didn't know whether I would be able to do, and it wasn't until I tried it that I would find the answer to that. I was stretched at times, but I've also had a great deal of enjoyment of the scenery, the riding in places I've never been to. Probably 95% of this route are on roads I've never travelled. So that's been a privilege. British countryside is so diverse and wonderful. I met some lovely people in the B&Bs where I've been staying. That's been really good. And I've had plenty of time to just reflect. I think one of the things that has surprised me has been just how enthusiastic, persistent, generous the support of people who've been following the blogs and WhatsApp and all the rest of it. Some beautiful, beautiful messages of encouragement and support, and I've been really inspired by that, and also having been on the receiving end of that, I want to try and do more of that for others, to others. So that's something I'm coming away with. I want to be a greater encouragement to others in whatever quests or challenges or difficulties they're going through. Yeah, it's been time to think about the bigger questions of life, and that's been rewarding and fruitful, I would say. So yes, this challenge has changed my life. It's going to be a bit strange not
following the same old routine. Every day you have a meticulous routine that gets you through the day. Tomorrow it's going to be different, so that's going to be a bit of a transition, be interesting. So there we are, really. Something which at one level is just practical, physical, set up, plan, a set of one-day rides to get to a destination. But inevitably it becomes more of an emotional and spiritual quest as well, as it should be. So that's me signing off.